Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Winning Streak or the Viper Times, depending where you're watching this from. I'm your host, Bryson, and today we are going to get into a recap of the Cowboys versus Seahawks game last night. Start us off talking about the Cowboys and their offense. I want to start off and say I don't know whether this was a terrible win or a great win. It's honestly kind of hard to pick which one it was. It was great on some ends and terrible on some ends. Defense mainly for us was what kind of sold. But for the offense, starting off with Dak Prescott, kind of proved that he can carry the team and defense when needed. I don't think we've ever seen him perform at this high of a level with this amount of consistency. Since losing to the Niners, Dak has thrown for 2,103 yards, 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and has had an average passer rating of 121.4, the league's highest. Last night he threw 29 for 41, so just about, 70%, 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that is pretty amazing. I'll give him that. Tony Pollard, he had a pretty great game. He ended up running for 20 carries, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. He's showing signs of hope very late, but I feel like at the same time you can't really be too mad about it because at least he's showing up now. So not too much to say about him, but CeeDee Lamb continues to impress. He's making a case to be a top 3 receiver in the league if he isn't already. I think he could be. I think it's Tyreek, AJ, and him. And it's kind of hard to rank him and AJ. I don't know who I would put at 2, and that's partly biased because I'm a fan, but got to give him credit where it's due. He's been unreal lately. Talking about the defense, Deron Bland, yes, DK Metcalf had a nuclear game on him. Give him credits for sure. DK had a crazy game. But he clutched up big time in the end with an interception when it was 27-28, and the Seahawks were leading. Problem with that was the offense did not capitalize at all, so wasn't really worth much. But I feel like I don't want to say he's getting extra hate because he had a pretty bad game, but I feel like every cornerback is going to get cooked in a game, and he's had an insane season, so we shouldn't be discrediting him too much. Micah Parsons, I will say, underwhelming this season, 100% in my opinion as a Cowboys fan, but going completely against that, won the game for us with his sack, so that was major on his end. So I'm very happy with what he could produce for us last night. A lot of people had him as their defensive player of the year, and I'm assuming most people do not agree with that at this point, considering he might not be considered the best defensive player on his team this season. I don't know if you would put Deron Bland or Micah Parsons first, so I'll let you guys vote probably on that. Marquise Bell, great game. He's our linebacker in case you're casual. He had 4 tackles and 4 assists. He's only 24 years old, and I feel like he's going to develop into a beast, especially being alongside Micah Parsons and hopefully Van Der Esch if we can get him back. Hopefully his season or career is not over yet, and he's also just surrounded by great defenders. So hopefully he will develop into just a star player. Getting into the Seahawks offense, Geno Smith had a great game. Might have been carried by DK, but proved he still has some fight left in him, and he isn't ready to be replaced quite yet, which the Seahawks will probably still do. He threw 23 for 41, so just around 50%. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception on Deron Bland. He's not elite this season whatsoever, but he's very good still. I don't really know how I feel about Geno. I really do like him, but they could end up getting a quarterback this draft. I think a lot of people are saying Bo Nix. I think that's not too unrealistic. Getting into DK Metcalf, unreal game from him. Geno finally realized he has him on the team and totally took advantage of that. DK cooked the Cowboys and Deron Bland for most of the game. He had 6 receptions, 134 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And before Monday's video, I did have him on my fantasy bus this week, and I have not stopped thinking about that since last night. So, pretty bad. Zach Charbonnet, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm assuming that's right. But fantastic game from him. Really shows that they could use him more alongside Kenneth Walker, especially this late in the season and with how we've seen Kenneth Walker's injuries so far. They could definitely split carries, in my opinion. He had a great game against Dallas's defense. He had 19 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown, essentially the exact same as Tony Pollard. If he got one more carry for 8 yards, something like that, he would have had the exact same stats as Pollard. And Pollard is supposed to be an elite running back, as he was like the 8th overall pick or something in fantasy this year, which that's not just basing it off of. He was also just supposed to be one in general. Fantasy aside. So, good game from him. Zach Charbonnet looks like he could be pretty good, and like I said, I think him and Kenneth Walker should be splitting carries going into hopefully the playoffs and stuff for them. Bobby Wagner, amazing effort this game. He still looks young and dominant. He had 7 tackles and 7 assists, he was just everywhere. And then Tariq Woolen, same thing really. He had 8 tackles last night. Overall, it was honestly a great game. I was very surprised with how close it was, if I'm being honest. I thought the Cowboys should have beat them by a lot more. I'm not concerned that we didn't, but we definitely could have, especially considering we're playing the Eagles next week. I do think we're going to be taking that game at home. So I guess we can hope and we can see, and I will do a recap on that game if I'm not too upset if we lose. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.